Welcome to Thoughts Roundup. It's so nice to be back with you again today, and I thank you for listening. So many of you are listening to my talks, and I appreciate it. I'm telling a story today about a time that I was in Mississippi. I think maybe it was Corinth, Mississippi, preaching a conference. And Brother Doyle Spears was the day speaker. And he told a story in his presentation that day that I just loved. And I have related it several times myself. It was a story about old brother D.K. Morris. Now, I'd heard my mother talk of brother D.K. Morris, and he also had a brother, I believe. In fact, I met some of his folks in church somewhere down the trail several years ago. Now, he told about brother and sister D.K. Morris going to Louisiana to start a new church. And they lived back in the woods. And it was during the Depression times, and they had run out of food. And it had been 2 days since they had had anything to eat. So when they got up, Brother Morris told her, said, "I'm going to the back room to pray." He stayed in prayer 2 hours and came out. And he told Sister Morris, he said, "I've just ordered groceries." "Oh, what did you order?" He said, I ordered some bread, I ordered some milk, and I ordered honey. "Oh, well, when are they going to be delivered?" she said. And very seriously he said, "Just any moment." Well, she kind of smiled and went on back doing what she was doing in the back room. And Brother Morris went to the table to sit at the head of the table. He sat down and just waited. In a little while, somebody knocked on the door, and he went to the door, and there's an old farmer. And he said, "Brother Morris," he said, "my wife makes up her dough and all for her yeast bread. And on the same day, every week," and said, "today she put the same ingredients, but when she made up the bread, it came out an extra loaf." I just wondered if you folks would like to have some good yeast bread. And oh, he said, "Yes, thank you." Well, he took the bread and put it on the table, and looked up, lifted his hands, and said, Lord, I want to thank you for the bread." And he just sat there. In a little while, a few minutes, the old farmer knocked on the door, and he went to the door and he said, "Brother Morris," he said, "my wife milks old Bossy every day, and she gets about the same amount every time. But said today, for some reason, she just kept milking, and it just kept coming. And said, would you like to have some good fresh milk?" "Oh," he said, "thank you." And he took the milk and wouldn't put it in one of those old safes like the ladies today are going to the antique shops looking for, with a screen in front so that they fixed it so the flies couldn't get in. And he put it in that old safe, and he lifted up his hands and he said, Lord, I want to thank you for the milk. Didn't touch anything, and he wouldn't say, sit down. And in a few minutes, a farmer and his little boy was with him, was at the door. And he said, Brother Morris, he said, this morning I was walking through the woods and I saw a swarm of bees come by. I could see them in the distance, and I watched them, and they landed up in a beech tree, hollow of a beech tree. And he said, I went home and got the saw and got the boy, and we cut the tree down, and we cut that tree open, and we have arrived out some of the best honey you've ever tasted in your life. And we just wondered if you'd like a good mess of that. That's Louisiana talk. A good mess of it. Oh, he said, I would appreciate it. And he took the honey and he set it down on the table. And by that time, Sister Morris had come back in, her eyes as big. As Brother Morris said, Lord, I want to thank you for the honey. Now, you know, probably one reason the Lord did that was because of the need, and also he was letting him know that he was going to be with him, that he's going to carry him through, he's going to see him through. I think the Lord does a lot of that. Well, you know, I know that you probably are not in that kind of a situation. Anyone I'm talking to is probably not in that kind of a situation. You have a credit card that you can go by the drive-through. You have cash that you can go by the drive-through or go to a restaurant and get what you want. You can go to the grocery store, or you at home, you probably have a refrigerator full of good stuff and a deep freeze full. And I know that you're not probably going to have to look to God for every bite that you take, every time that you eat. I understand that. But there are some things in this age that we do have to trust God for. We have to trust God that our children live right. We have to trust God for our health. We have to trust God to keep us safe on the highway, because we don't know who's going to be texting at 60 and 70 miles an hour headed right towards you. There's so many things. We have to trust the Lord that our kids, our children's mind won't be infected with a bunch of rot stuff, a bunch of sociologists and all of this stuff trying to make our kids disbelieve in everything that we hold dear. We've got a lot to trust the Lord for. But you know what? We can trust Him. He's right there to help us in time of trouble and need. God bless you.